I'm going to go ahead and open Excel right down here on my taskbar. There is my Excel icon. I'm going to go ahead and open it up from scratch. And we've got our home screen here, and I am going straight to a blank workbook. Your introduction to spreadsheets here, blank document versus opening an existing spreadsheet. We went to the home screen when we first opened up Excel, and we went to blank. However, we could have gone to open. And open means it's going to take you to a screen where it's going to allow you to open an existing file, a file that you have already created, right? That you have already gave it a name, put it in a folder, and now you want to open it back up again and work on that file. That's what open means. Now, going into a blank spreadsheet is just clicking on blank workbook, starting from scratch. New is going to take you to the Excel templates. Now, there's a lot of really great templates in here for Excel, and you can search for some templates by category, or you can just type in something that you're looking for. So let's just say I'm looking for a timesheet. Okay. When I click in the search under templates, it will give me all sorts of different kinds of timesheets. These are already created files. These are what we call templates, and it's great. All you have to do is go in and just kind of customize it, put your logo in if you want to, and just kind of customize it for what you need it for. But there are tons and tons of templates. I'm going to hit that back button up here, and it'll take me back to the home screen. And if I scroll down a little bit, I'll see some probably, I guess, what Excel would consider more common templates, but lots of good stuff here too. So don't forget about templates. All right, I'm going to go back to my blank spreadsheet and entering data into cells. Okay. So typically when you open up a blank spreadsheet, it's going to take you into cell A1. Again, a cell name is where it intersects between the column, letter, and the row number. So right now you can see up here my name box. I'm in A1. If I click over here, notice the name box changes. I am in F4 and so on and so on. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to do that by coming down to the bottom right corner. I see my zoom bar down here, and I can click that plus sign just a little bit to zoom in so we can all see the spreadsheet a little bit better. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to click in cell C4, and I'm going to type my name. And then two things. If I enter right now, it is going to enter the data that I just added to the cell, and it's going to drop me in the cell underneath. If I hit the tab key right now on my keyboard, it's going to enter the data in that cell that I just typed, and it's going to bring me over to the next column. And I might not want either one of those things to happen, right? So how do I enter the data in this cell without moving? That little check mark right there. That is your enter icon. And so if I hit that check mark, it will enter the data in the cell and it will keep me there. Why would I want to do that? Well, what if I want to format that cell? What if I want to change the color or maybe make that bold or center it in the cell, which we're going to talk about all those things eventually. So I would just hit that little check mark, and bada bing, bada boom, I am in that cell. It has entered the data. And now a couple of things I want you to notice. My mouse is right now a white fat cross. So that gives me the capability to left click hold and select a bunch of cells at the same time, or just click inside of individual cells. Now, when I hover over the cell with my name, if I just do a single left click, I am on that cell. That's it. I'm just on it. I'm not in it though. So how do I edit the content of what is in that cell? There's a couple of ways that you can do that. Okay. Now I can come up here. Notice my formula bar. I can click right at the formula bar and I can backspace, or I can add my last name or whatever I want to do here. But I can also do it from the cell itself. I tend to I think my go-to typically is working from the formula bar. It also just depends on what I'm doing. If it's a formula or if it's text, there's 4 things that you can put into a cell in Excel. Text, a formula, a value, or a link. Text would be your name, and text will always align to the left. If I click underneath and I type a number, when I enter that, I'm going to hit my check mark, and you're going to hear me say that a lot. Hit your check mark. I'm going to hit that check mark and watch what happens when I just type a number in there. It aligns to the right. Now, so this is text. This is a value, a formula, value, value, formula would be something like this. So this is adding up these 3 cells, and this is the answer that I get. Though it looks like it's a value, when I click on that cell and I look up here in the formula bar, it's not a number. It is a formula. And the number that it's giving us is the sum of these 3 cells right here. So when I click on this cell, you can see, yep, that's a value. This is a value. This is a value. but oh, that is not a value. It is a formula. Okay. So start kind of being mindful of the difference between the different things that are in your cell. That being said, what do I do if I want to add my last name? If I want to go back in and edit what I've already put into a cell. Now, if I click on the cell that has my name, and let me delete these so it doesn't confuse you. I'm going to click on that cell with my name. Just going to do a single left click on that cell with my name in it. I can see that that is in the formula bar as well. I can work from the formula bar and add my name. I can just click right up here at the end of my first name and add my last name if I wanted to. But I can also do it from the cell. Now, when I just do a single left click on the cell, I'm on it. I'm not in it. So notice there's a lot of things in the ribbon that are highlighted that are lit up that I can do a lot of things to this cell. But watch what happens when I double click inside of the cell. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my white fat cross and I'm just going to kind of double click right around where the end of my name is, like after the N. I'm going to do a quick double left click. And what that does is it puts me in the cell. How do I know I'm in the cell? Well, you can see my cursor blinking, right? That's one way. But the other way is look up at your ribbon. Up here in your ribbon, a lot of things just grayed out as soon as I clicked inside of that cell. And the reason why is because now the point of being in the cell is that I'm supposed to be entering data, right? I'm in the cell. So now I'm going to add my last name. So when I add my last name, I can't change the alignment here. I can't change the format of the cell. There's a lot of things I can't do because I am in the cell. You can actually see my last name kind of going into column D, right? But actually, is it? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to enter this. My question to you is, you can see my name is going past the border between column C and D. Is the last part of my name, my last name, going to get cut off if I go to print this? Let's go see. I just did a print preview, and you can actually see here, that's not the case. Nope, it's perfect. So I'm actually able to see the entire name. It is not getting cut off. However, now I just hit that back button in the top left corner to come back to my spreadsheet after I did the print preview. Here, you're not seeing it get cut off, but if I were to actually go into column D and put some data in that cell in row 4, then look what would happen. I'm going to type in the age I would like to be. So the age that I would like to be, look at here now. Uh-oh. Now my name is kind of getting cut off. I can't see it because I now have data in column D in that same row. Now is my name going to get cut off? I don't know. Let's go take a look. I'm going to go to my quick access toolbar and I'm going to do a print preview and print. When I click on that, yep, it is going to get cut off for sure because I have data in the next column over. How do I fix that? When I come up between column C and D, I can do one of two things. And I know some of you that worked in Excel, you already know left click, hold and drag, but don't do that because I'm going to show you a shortcut. I'm going to do a quick double left click. So when you hover your mouse around various elements of your Excel spreadsheet, you see how your mouse kind of changes. So that white fat cross is just select, 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 right? But when I click on a cell and I hover, let's just say in the bottom right corner, there's a little button there. Mouse turns into a thin black cross. What does that do? So that's your fill handle. When I hover over any one of the edges of that cell, my mouse is a 4-headed arrow. What does that do? That will move the data from one place to the next. I can left click and hold, and I can drag that to a different cell. Now I can control Z to undo that, but that's what that does. Now when I bring my mouse up between the two columns, it turns into a double-headed horizontal arrow with a vertical line going down the middle. What that means is that's my adjuster. And I can left click, hold, and drag to try to get that column C wider to fit my name, or I can do a quick double left click. Bam. And it will take every single piece of data in column C and it will widen all the way down to the last row to the widest point in any of those rows. So maybe row 10,000 has somebody's name that's way longer than mine. And if I do a double left click, it's going to make sure that nothing in column C gets cut off. Kind of cool, right? Okay. So the one thing I did want to show you was when I come back to the cell with my name in it, and I just do a single left click, I'm on the cell. So I have a lot of things up here that I can do to that cell. I can center it horizontally. I can angle it counterclockwise, all right? So a lot of things that I can do here that I couldn't do if I double click inside the cell. So I'm going to double click between my first and last name and put my middle initial in there. Boom. Now, again, a lot of things I can't do because my cursor is blinking inside of that cell. Everything now is almost everything is getting grayed out. So that's a big difference between being on a cell versus in a cell. When you're in a cell, that means you're trying to edit something in the cell. Now, let's just say I want to take out my last name. My cursor is blinking in front of the P. So I'm going to hit my delete key. Delete will pull from the right and it'll just delete. If I backspace, okay, it's going to start backspacing out my first name. So backspacing will go to the left. Deleting will pull anything that you have to the right of your cursor and start deleting it. Okay. So on our phones, we don't have the capability to delete. That was a weird thing for me when phones first came out. I was like, where's my delete key? Because I would have to make sure my cursor was at the end of whatever it is I wanted to backspace out, and then I would have to backspace. So a little bit of a difference. And it's the same thing in Word and PowerPoint and stuff. When you're to the left of the text that you want to remove, you hit the delete key. When you're to the right of the text that you want to remove, you hit your backspace key. So hopefully that made sense to you. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hit space, type my last name back in there again, and then hit my check mark, and I'm good to go. That data is entered. The other thing I wanted to show you too was the fill series. Now I have that number 50 right there. Let's just say I want this to count down from 50 all the way to 60, right? So see that little bottom right corner, that little button in the bottom right corner of that cell. So I just left click on that cell to be on the cell D4 that has the 50 in it. And I'm going to hover over the bottom right corner and I'm going to see that little button. I'm going to left click hold and I'm going to drag down. Let's see how far I go. Okay. And what it did is it copied, which is cool sometimes, but Excel can sometimes have a mind of its own. I didn't want that to copy. I wanted it to count 51, 52, 53. See that little tag right there? Before I click off and start doing anything else, see that little tag right there? That is my autofill option. That thin black cross, when I hovered over the bottom right corner of that cell and I got that thin black cross, that is called your fill handle. When I hover over this little tag at the bottom, this is Excel's way of going, hold on a sec. We copied those numbers, that number 50. Is that what you wanted? Because if not, you do have some other options here. And so now I can fill the series. And when I click on fill series, boom. Yep, it gives me that count one by one. And we're going to talk about in later videos, we're going to talk about filling if you wanted to count by fives. What if you wanted 55, 60, 65, 70? There are ways to do that, and we'll talk about that in another video. Isn't that cool? So that is called your fill handle. It's a huge shortcut, huge time saver. Now, let's just say I was like, oh man, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do the fill at all. I need to undo that. There's a couple of different ways that you can undo and redo. I tend to do the shortcut key, which is Control Z, to undo me changing that fill series from copy. Or up here in your quick access toolbar, there's an undo icon as well. And I can click undo, bada bing, bada boom. It goes back to without that fill series. Isn't that great? Now, if I was like, oh man, I didn't mean to do that, I can go back and redo. So undo is that little swirly arrow to the left. Redo is that little swirly arrow to the right. And if you want to undo using your shortcut key, Control plus the Z key, you hold the Control key down, tap your letter Z, or hold Control and tap the letter Y for redo. Okay, so undo, Control Z. If I do want to remove the content of a cell at this point of an individual cell, I can click on the cell and tap my delete or backspace key. Okay, so either way, you're fine there. And we did show you in the previous video, if I click on this little triangle in the top left corner and then tap my delete key from there, it will delete everything on this spreadsheet. So that's kind of an easy thing if you want to just get rid of everything.